I do not know what the delay is in Francis and Gane, but I can recognize there is one. I have chosen to put that on Francis. I need to correct that for the record. I have no evidence that that is on Francis. Something has stopped those two from having a date and getting a contract signed. I decided it was on Francis. I don't have that evidence. And there is a piece where Francis is so wildly decorated in success. There is some mega fights out there for him right now. Francis versus Derek Lewis is going to fill up an arena. I realize it's not going to happen. That will fill up an arena. And the backstory and the first fight that they had and exactly what happened, it just works. Francis versus Gane, interim champion, undisputed champion. Francis with his beautiful record, Gane with a 0 in the loss column, former training partners. I mean, that will fill up the biggest arena that the UFC could play. Francis versus Jon Jones. Francis versus Stipe Part 3. I mean, do you see where I'm coming from? I don't know that there's another guy in any division that I could name 4 mega fights for right now. Can you? It's not true for Jon. Jon versus Francis, tremendous. But Jon versus Curtis Blaydes, very different. Very different in terms of that anticipation that you're going to feel inside. And I have put all of this on Francis without having any evidence. I need to disclose that. There is still a part of me that looks at and attempts to judge Francis as though it's my decision to make. And it does appear that something has changed psychologically since he became champion. I can remember press conferences leading in to Francis versus Stipe and coming out the backside of that. And you got to really remember that time frame because Francis got put in a unique spot that nobody else has been in, which is backing up when Francis beat Rosenstrike. That night, Francis was named #1 contender. Relevance being the title was still to be contested between Stipe and DC. We have never had somebody made a #1 contender prior to a fight that was already signed for a belt and then going to come in later. It was only Francis. And Francis, that was meant as a compliment to him. Dana was attempting to recognize the hard work and the domination done by Francis by naming him #1 contender. Francis saw it differently. Francis goes, wait a minute. I'm the #1 contender, and I got to wait for this fight to be contested, and then I got to work things out, and we got to negotiate. We got to go to training camps and a media tour, and then go fight. I'm unemployed for a little bit, right? It was an accidental byproduct that was not the intent, but it happened, and Francis spoke about that. Not quite in the words that I'm using, but he spoke about it saying, I want to fight. I want to get busy. You all figure out who it's going to be. You figure out when it's going to be, but get me in there. I don't want these delays. And it was so refreshing. It was beautiful as it came out of Francis's mouth. I remember watching it as a fan and just going, oh, I've been waiting for a guy like this, particularly in the heavyweight division. We can say whatever we want about fighting. Man, it's still about the heavyweights. That's the belt Muhammad Ali had. That's the belt Hulk Hogan had. That's the belt Iron Mike Tyson had. Something special about heavyweight. So for Francis to come out and say, I want to be busy. And then to have all of these wonderful options. The dialogue in the root of Jon Jones. The story behind the Black Beast. Now all of a sudden out of nowhere was Ciryl Gane. Wow. Wow. We're going to have some fun. As a fan, we're going to have some fun. And that fight hasn't been announced. I've decided to put that on Francis. I'm wrong. I have no evidence that it is. But with the pieces of evidence that I just laid out for you guys and the timeline of which that happened chronologically, it would just seem to me that Gane, again, no evidence, it would seem to me that Gane would like to get in there and try to prove this undisputed business. Everybody was hot and heavy. That was a topic that was going everywhere, and all of the news sites, I can't remember the last time it was talked about, and we're only 2 or 3 weeks removed. But why would you cool something off if you're going to try to heat it back up? When something's hot, you throw gas on it. You keep it burning. You keep it exploding. Something has tempered that. But it does come back to what is your drive and what is your hunger. Because when I watched Francis get put on the shelf He got put on the shelf, which he viewed as a penalty. He got put there because of success. Dominant success. Cain Velasquez, up, down. Rosenstrike, up, down. In and out. Less than 2 minutes of fighting. I'm forgetting an opponent. He had another opponent in there too, but all in one. He didn't have a full 5 minutes, and he did not think that he should be penalized as a reward. He makes a fair point. But I don't know where that drive is right now. I don't know what the delay is. And I'm only attempting to submit for you that every fighter will go through waves where something is so clear and you have that clear hunger. Many of them will get to what they set out for. Then they don't know what to do. And it does remind me of the time Glenn Naradka told me. Glenn was a college athlete. I was in junior high. He came in, he spoke to our program, and he said, if you get to the national tournament and your goal is to be an All-American, once you All-American, you're not going to be able to change your goal and go and be the national champion. You're going to have to go home. You're going to have to reassess. You're going to have to come back at the next national tournament with the goal. And it's one of those tough spots. It's a very tough spot. I would love to speak to you guys from experience. I would love to have been that cloaked in success of John Jones, who gave a world title away. I couldn't imagine. Or Francis Ngannou, who is the champion, and waiting to see who he's going to take on next, when just a short period of time ago, all he wanted was in there and more often and against anybody. But your mind changes. Spoke to a world champion one time from amateur wrestling named Les Gutches. Les became the world champion. He told me the next day was the most depressing day of his life because he had set out for a goal. He had sacrificed everything, twice a day, every day, whatever it took. Once he achieved it, he woke up and goes, what do I do now? I didn't have a goal to be a two-time champion. I didn't have a goal to defend this. I had a goal to win a world title. I now need to reassess. I'm guessing that Francis is somewhere in that weird purgatory of trying to figure out what it is he wants to do, be responsible while doing it. I'm here to remind him of his own words, which were, I just want to stay busy. I want to get in there and compete. I want to get on with it. So it's a tough spot. We can sit back and guess. I think I've been a little hard on Francis. I believe this is my public admittance. I think I'm going to turn a new page on Ngannou. I think I've spoke about him often. And I haven't had the evidence to do it. But I do take him at his word. And when he went to the press conferences leading into the Stipe fight and coming out the back end, his words was he didn't care who, he didn't want to be delayed. Right now, he's being delayed. So instead of answering a question, I admittedly will just ask the question, what is the holdup?